granted, you're not a soothsayer, but what your prognostication is, your forecast for what's going to happen between the United States and China or G7 and the BRICS in the next 10 to 20 years or so?
Well, it is a summary of what I said earlier. A decision is going to be made, and it'll be mostly made by the United States. That's not because the United States is more powerful or because I think China is good and America is bad. I don't think that any more than the reverse. China now understands through practical experience, not its ideology. China understands that time is on its side. Why? Because it has been for 30 years. For 30 years, their system has outgrown the United States. For the last 10 or 15 years, everything the United States has tried to slow them or stop them has failed. Trump's tariff wars, Trump's trade wars, all of the activity Mr. Biden continued against China that he inherited from Trump. It was all designed to change their policies. It hasn't. It was all designed to slow them down relative to the United States. Hasn't really done that either. So they're more powerful than they were. And that's been true now for so long that they're not going to change much. They're winning. Their time is on their side. For the United States, it's exactly the opposite. Everything fails. For the United States, they're getting desperate. What's left? Well, saber rattling in the South China Sea, deciding that that offshore island, Taiwan, is some kind of important thing. I mean, try to imagine if the Chinese Navy were buzzing around Staten Island. I mean, what? You know, it's pure provocation. So for me, I see the Chinese, time is on our side, versus the United States, time is against us. And so I imagine there are many people in the American military saying we have to have the war with them now, because if we don't, it'll be worse for us 5 years from now, 10 years. The way things are going, we didn't imagine when Kissinger and Nixon go to China back in whenever it was, 1970, around that time, to open up China to the United States. They weren't afraid of China militarily. They didn't want to get left behind as Europe and Japan made money off dealing with China. Now they're afraid. And they have reason to be. China is a huge power, nuclear weapons, allied with Russia. I mean, that's a powerful alliance. Biggest country by population, with the most militarily armed country probably in the world, which is Russia now, not so much. And certainly in conventional weapons, that's what we're learning in Ukraine. So here's my prognostication. The United States will enter into soon a very different debate. And then instead of the debate being, what's the best way to contain China, which is the self-delusional debate we're in now, we're going to have a debate between those who want that and those who say, that's stupid. That's so stupid because they're not going to walk away. They've shown no interest in bending to our will. They're not willing to accommodate any of the things we want to throw at them. So we know that. So we're going to have a war. And a war between these two nuclear superpowers is ridiculous. More danger. We have to learn our own history. We, the Americans, have to do with China what the British had to do with the American colony that broke away. Work something out. You can do here, we'll do over there. The planet can handle both of us if we work together, and we will destroy each other, which serves nobody if we don't. I think that will be the debate. And I want to think that the wiser heads will prevail And another person who will then come to be known as George Washington will say, this is the way we ought to go. And people will say, George, go out there, talk with Xi Jinping or whoever comes later and work this out. And they will, and they will, and they will work it out. The Chinese do not want to be obliterated by nuclear weapons either. Should come as a surprise to nobody.